What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 140 of the Stand Up Guys podcast. I'm your host, the incomparable Zach Jones, joined as always by the Ninth Wonder, Chocolate Thunder, taking Dumpkins and getting Blumpkins. Step aside the Batman and make way for the Scat Man. Nothing makes him moan like a rusty trombone. The phenomenal A.J. Singh.
That's me.
It's your favorite intro. Man, let's get it right into the show, man. What you been watching this week?
I watched this breakdown of this Christian movie called The Reconciler.
The Reconciler. I like the
Reconciler.
name right away.
And it's a total ripoff of Saw, and it's such a weird movie. Like,
Wait, it's a religious movie and it's like Saw?
Yeah.
Oh, I kind of want to see this.
yeah, this is weird. It starts out with the same like twist where like the guy who's like the reconciler, or in Jigsaw, like they're in the middle of this floor in this like dirty looking room, and there's like two guys chained up. And,
Oh, so they're like not even like trying to like.
Yeah.
This is like a definite parody.
Yeah, well, actually, the one of the two guys is the guy, the reconciler. Sorry, they didn't have enough cast for a third person in that room.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, he's the reconciler, but he pretends that he's just some guy who's like abducted and he doesn't know what's going on. And there's several other people who are in the same scenario where they're like waking up and they're like with somebody else. But the thing is, like, they all know each other. Like, so all the people who are like abducted, like they're in pairs, and the pairs, like, they pretty much know each other, except for the one pair where the reconciler is like part of the group, but he's like talking to this guy and trying to help him, like, I don't know, figure something out. And what he does is like essentially like he blocks these people together. There's this one cop and his partner that they're locked in a car. And, like, they would be in a car anyway. They're partners. Like, I don't understand why he has to go out of his way to, like, lock them in together, But he basically locks all these people in rooms together until they reconcile their issues. And, like, then they become friends again.
So this isn't like nobody gets like tortured, killed.
None of that. No, it's just, hey, I abducted you people so you guys could be friends. The cop one was so stupid because it was like, this is affecting your police work. You guys got to work together. Blah, blah. It was just so stupid.
God works in mysterious ways, and he Stockholm syndrome us into being friends again.
Yeah, it was just, I mean, the cop one really didn't make sense to me because, like, you would think partners would be in a car for several hours in a day anyway. Like, he didn't have to go out of his way to put them in that scenario. But he did. I don't know. It was just, yeah, and then at the end of the movie, everybody becomes buddy. It's just the same. These can't be the same Christian people that I see.
That is a bizarre like concept. I do kind of like the concept of doing like a Saw movie where like there's a bunch of people that wake up in the room, but like it'd be cool if like we knew one of them was the bad guy,
Yeah.
and you had to like through the course of the movie try to like guess who it is.
Right.
So
right.
you almost get that Scream element,
Yeah.
but like there's a bunch of people and like somebody's on the inside track. That could be like an interesting premise.
Yeah, that's kind of like the first movie, except he wasn't really like very active or anything. But
Yeah, he was just like pretend. He was the dead guy
Yeah.
in the middle of the
Yeah.
floor or whatever. I think that's maybe the only one of those Saw movies I ever seen was the first.
yeah, it's the best one.
It's not like those kind of like torture porn movies like aren't the best.
Yeah, I don't know who gets into those movies. Like, as a human being, you relate to the pain that the people are going through. Like, doesn't that just make you feel worse in some way?
Yeah, I remember like when me and Lester were in college, like there was a theater like on campus, and they would
pretty
show
cool.
the thing is that they would show movies for cheap, but they would be movies that just made it to DVD at the time, so it wouldn't be like
Okay.
movies that were like in theaters, but like if you wanted to watch a movie for cheap, and we would do that sometimes. For some reason, I want to say we went and saw that movie Hostel, and that's the same thing where it's just like
Yeah.
people getting tortured, and I was kind of like, why did we watch this?
Yeah,
We're
why'd
bored,
they
I
even
guess.
make that separate franchise? The same thing as Saw. Like, It's just a little bit different.
Yeah, it's a little different, but same kind of stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
those kind of movies aren't really for me.
Yeah, I don't get who's into that stuff. Like, you got to be like a sick, twisted person to be into that torture porn. I don't get it. Doesn't make sense to me.
But me and you were like talking a little bit like before we started about these religious movies. Like, there's a ton of them, and like I was telling you, like sometimes like we'll be walking to the theater and I'll see a movie poster for like one of these that I never heard of. Like, and it happens a lot, and I'm just like, how many of these things are getting made? And like,
Yeah.
I mean, I assume they just show them in kind of a limited capacity, but like, still,
might.
like they must be making enough money to continue making them.
Yeah, they're going to make their own Jesus cinematic universe where it's just like a whole connected fabric of just stories. The whole Bible universe will be like,
We should do that. Like, there's like a
Job.
there's like a Moses movie and like a Jesus movie and like a Noah's movie, and somehow at the end, like they all come together to
Right.
fight Satan.
yeah, we should do that. Holy cow. I guess we have to pretend to be Christian and everything.
Sure.
yeah, the Lord spoke to me one day on a podcast.
Man, there's got to be like, I bet if we looked into it, like, we'd find that there's some sort of studio that just pumps those movies out like one after
Oh,
another
yeah.
after another, makes them on the cheap.
There's a subscription service called Passionflix, I think.
That sounds like a porn
That
thing.
sounds like porn, yeah. But oh no, it's PureFlix. Passionflix is a porn one, I think. Very sensual movies for women who likes 50 Shades of Grey. But yeah, PureFlix. That's the Christian.
That
version.
sounds more like it.
Yeah. It's got some terrible low quality shows on there. I've seen the breakdowns of them. They're rough, man. And like the plot is just so thin.
I know, like, there's they made like some sort of almost like a Hallmark Channel, those type of movies, but specifically for Christians. Like, I think Kirk Cameron's like sister has something to do with it, but their whole thing is like, basically it's like Hallmark movies, but no gay business and probably like not a lot of interracial business,
Yeah, PureFlix is owned by Talia Musk, it's like Elon Musk's sister.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, so she's like, she owns it. And is he even Christian?
Not that I know of. I mean, I've never heard him talk about religion.
Yeah.
I didn't even know he had a sister, let alone like a super religious sister.
Yeah. Maybe she's not religious. Maybe she just owns PureFlix.
You know what's weird too is like, I never seen it, but apparently like his mom like did a Sports Illustrated cover.
Really?
Yeah.
His dad married his sister.
No.
Yeah, like his stepdaughter or something, whatever it was. Like he married her when she grew up.
You can see that on Passionflix.
That's nuts, man. That family is wild. Oh.
Well, and then I've never like done the deep dive on like Elon Musk history, but like I know a lot of people are saying, oh, he got all this money from his dad's emerald mine,
Yeah.
and then like I seen on Twitter the other day he was like saying like, I'll pay such and such a money if someone can prove that mine existed or something.
Did somebody prove it?
And then like, well, apparently like then there was like his dad was saying like he could prove it or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I heard something like
it was
that,
something
yeah.
weird like that. I'm like, what is going on with this family?
I don't know.
I liked Elon Musk. Like, I assume he is a smart guy,
Yeah.
but like at the same time, like if he would have just like kept his mouth shut, like I feel like people would have such a different opinion of him.
Yeah, I don't know how smart he is. I mean, like, the more you talk, the more people realize what, you're all about. And the more he's talked recently, the more he's given away that he doesn't know much about, like, a lot of these different sciences that he pretends to know about. Like, he might know programming and stuff. I'm not sure if he even knows that. Because, like, I saw somebody online talk about it. They were like, when he talks about all this other stuff, I thought he was smart. But then I know this certain topic, and he's talked about this, and he doesn't know what he's talking about when he's talking about this, So it makes it seem like maybe he doesn't really know what he's talking about.
Yeah, it's confusing. Like, well, like the first time I saw him, he was like on some sort of like documentary about global warming, and he seemed on just that limited exposure, like maybe this semi-liberal dude that was like trying to like better the world, you know.
Mm.
But then like you hear him talking, and nowadays he seems like maybe more right wing,
Yeah.
more maybe even like more anti-worker in a way
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And it's like that's kind of weird, man. Speaking of that, you know what's weird is several states now have basically like laxed their laws on like child labor,
Yeah.
which I find bizarre.
Idaho did that recently, I think.
Yeah, and Iowa as well.
Iowa, okay.
Well, I think there's been several of them,
Okay.
but I mean, I think it's mostly like, you know, like the restaurant lobby and stuff. Like, they just want cheap labor, basically. But it seems so weird. Like, some of them are like, oh yeah, 14-year-olds can work, and like even some of them like, you know, lowered the age to where like I don't think where like kids can like interact. I don't know if we'd be serving alcohol or just like moving it, but like they can have contact with alcohol. Obviously not drink it, but
They're gonna drink it.
yeah, that's probably.
I mean, that's just, it's shocking to me. Look, it seems hypocritical to me because, like, you hear Republicans from when I was growing up, they would always, it seems like they were the party that would be like, oh, protect the children from the gays and from these people and from that. And here they are, like, the same children. They're like, okay, now put them to work.
Exactly.
And there's other things, too, they've been doing with the kids. Like, and there's been, like, several Republicans caught doing inappropriate things with kids. And Dennis Hastert, he was, like, the Republican leader for so long. It seems like projection, like, all this stuff, they're like, oh, protect the kids, but they're the biggest threat to these kids, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure a lot of those people like convince themselves, oh, this is good for little Johnny to learn responsibility and
You can
what
talk
a
yourself into
hard
it.
day's work is worth and
Yeah.
all this kind of stuff. But it's like, no, really, it's like the restaurant lobby, you know, wanting cheap labor.
Yeah, you don't want. You're gonna
Support
have
your
Johnny
kids.
dying at 20 from coal mines or something, and you know they're gonna send those kids into coal mines
Oh,
too.
probably 100%. I'm sure they will. Actually, one of those, because I watched like a Kyle Kalinske video on it, and like one of the states was like allowing like young kids to work in factories.
Yeah, like meat plants, like cleaning off like sharp machinery, heavy like industrial machinery, like for cutting up animals and meat. That's insane, man. That's such a hazard. Like we're putting them just in dangerous positions too. These aren't just like safe jobs for kids. I don't know if there is one, but yeah, it seems like we're going from 0 to 10 real fast.
Man, when I was a kid, I mean, I to be fair, I was kind of a lazy kid, but like when I was like in middle school or even like, you know, high school, like having a job was the furthest thing from my mind.
Yeah.
I felt like it was enough just to keep up with high school and homework
Exactly.
and all your regular stuff.
School was your job. you know?
That's what it felt like, yeah.
Yeah.
And so just, but you know, also I think there'll be a lot of like scummy parents that are like, will put their kids to work just to be like, you know, poor families and stuff.
Yeah.
Be like,
Get that
go out and make us
paycheck.
some money, yeah. You
Yeah.
know. I don't know. I don't see it. And also, like, is the workforce like not being filled by adults?
That's what it seems like. It seems like there's not enough workers or something. I don't know. I don't know if these patterns all add up or not, but I mean, like, they're trying to like get the population higher, it seems, with these abortion laws, and you know, they're trying to get rid of like a lot of these same-sex couples and stuff. Like, it seems like they're trying to raise the population and get these workers, you know?
Just get more workforce.
Yeah, get more workforce.
But at the same time, eventually automation is going to cut the amount of jobs we have down considerably.
Yeah, I don't know what they're planning on doing with these people. What are they going to do? They're not going to give out free paychecks to people because they hate that.
Well, you know, I do wonder about the future because like I think it is inevitable that eventually AI will get to where it can do a lot of jobs like mine, and then probably it'll take maybe a little longer, but eventually automation will then be able to take care of a lot of the, you know, service industry jobs and things like that. So I do eventually see a future where, people don't have to work as much, but then like, what happens to a capitalist society when that happens?
Right.
The people that are on the top are still going to want to have that power, and like, it's going to be interesting to say the least.
Yeah. I think we're on the precipice of seeing what happens with that.
I mean, that universal basic income thing, I almost think eventually we're going to have to do something like that.
Like, it seems like you'd have to, but it goes against everything this country has ever been for. Like, I don't know. It seems like everybody here like is against that. Or at least everybody who has the power to make that happen.
Yeah, they'll be against it until they can see it's too late, and like their job that they thought would never go away goes away.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's sometimes hard to make people think about things in terms of long distance.
Yeah.
Well, getting off politics, did you watch anything else of note?
Just the Christian stuff. I'll try to think of.
What made you go down that lane? Because like me and you like aren't religious at all. But did you just like?
I always think religious stuff is hilarious.
It is wacky.
I grew up watching Indian movies, and there's always like this huge images of gods, and like their influence in these movies is so massive. And not just that, but like growing up and seeing like Christian cartoons like on TV and stuff, and all that stuff's always been kind of like, I've always found it funny.
Right.
Religion. And Christian rap, like that's something that I always found funny and stuff. So like this goes in line with that stuff, like ridiculous Christian movies. Like, it's silly, it's just something to laugh at. But I'm not laughing at Christians. And they're fine. Just their products.
I had an Uber driver the other day that was listening to Christian music, and I was like, is this guy trying to convert me? I watched a handful of things. So I had the Peacock network for a little while longer. So I kind of was looking through their movie section, and they had one of these movies that was nominated for a bunch of Oscars called Tar. Have you heard of this movie?
I think, yeah, I've heard of it.
So it's a Cate Blanchett movie. Her character's name is Lydia Tarr, and like this movie was weird. I found it a little bit frustrating because like from a technical perspective, like it's well made, and like she's a great actress, like Cate Blanchett. I don't know if she's ever like turned in a performance that wasn't good, so it's enjoyable on that level. But the thing is, I'm not sure this movie knew what it wanted to be, because like on one hand, it's kind of like a commentary on like cancel culture and wokeism. So basically, like the premise is like she's this world-renowned like orchestra conductor, but like as the movie goes along, like you learn that like she's a lesbian, and like she's been basically giving people in like preferential treatment for sexual favors, basically, and also like we find out that she completely destroyed this one girl's life. We don't get the details on it, but I'm assuming like she wouldn't do what she wanted her to do, so she just like destroyed her career. And so you get that aspect of it, which is kind of interesting. And then there's also like a little bit of like commentary on like wokeism. Like there's an early scene where she like teaches this class, and like one of her students is like very dismissive of this like certain conductor, because it's like, oh, he's just like this old white guy, and and she kind of like makes this kid like walk out of the class basically, after like kind of like tells him off about being so dismissive. And so like there's interesting like scenes like that in the movie. But then the thing that like kind of bugged me was at one point in the movie, well, a couple points in the movie, she kind of starts seeing these like strange things, and I think we're supposed to be. I think it's supposed to be kind of vague as to whether like she like her guilt and stuff is making her see these things, or if possibly there's other people in the story like messing with her. But the thing is eventually it just kind of drops that whole storyline, and it never answers the question. So it's like, so it's kind of like, why introduce that if you're not going to do anything with it? Kind of.
Right.
I don't know. So this movie, it felt a little all over the place to me. So I don't know. I would maybe give it a 6 out of 10 just for like Cate Blanchett's performance and like some of the dialogue. But like that part of it bothered me, and I found it frustrating just because I'm like, why introduce this if you're not going to do anything satisfying with it? You know,
give us some sort of closure.
Yeah, because at one point I was like, oh, this movie is like turning into a thriller that I didn't expect it to be. But then I'm like, oh, it really isn't. And so I was like, that seemed like a waste of time. I don't know. I don't know. If anybody out there has seen Tar, maybe I just misinterpreted that part of the movie. So please comment, let me know. Let's see, what else did I watch? Season 3 of Star Trek Picard finished. And I guess, like, I'm not a Trekkie by any means. I've gotten into Star Trek a little more in recent years. But I actually did find this season, like, very good. I know just from like things I've seen online, like a lot of people that are Trekkies like really hated seasons 1 and 2.
Oh yeah.
And to me, like, I don't have enough knowledge of Star Trek to be like really offended by the things they did. But there were a couple things where I'm like, oh, that's a little weird, you know, just from like an outsider's perspective. But this one, and I never really growing up watched Star Trek: The Next Generation. I've been watching it a little more in recent years. But they basically, this storyline brought back that whole cast from The Next Generation. And I thought they all did really well. And the story was compelling. It's a 10-episode season. I thought it was really well done. I enjoyed it.
Okay.
The final season of Better Call Saul, they finally added it to Netflix, so I'm watching that now. It originally aired on AMC and AMC Plus or whatever last year, but I'm like, I didn't want to subscribe to AMC,
right?
Because it just, I don't know, it's there's too many streaming services. So I was like, I'll just wait for it to come on Netflix. So I've been watching that. I watched, I think, like the first, probably about half of the season so far, and it's really good. I don't know. Have you been watching Better Call Saul?
No, I haven't. I watched the first season. It was just so slow for me. I don't know. I couldn't get into it.
But you did watch Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
So I love Breaking Bad, and to me, like, Better Call Saul, like, I wouldn't necessarily put it above Breaking Bad. I don't think I would. But man, I really like it. And I think the stakes aren't quite as high as in Breaking Bad.
Right.
But they still find, I think, there's also like more humor in Better Call Saul. And but I still think they do a really good job of making it suspenseful and tension filled, and I really enjoy it. But yeah, I could see where it's probably does feel a little more slowly paced than Breaking Bad was.
Okay, gotcha.
You know, this is a couple weeks old, but I was wondering, did you see that Blue Beetle trailer?
Yeah, it looks good.
We haven't really talked about. See, I actually thought it didn't do much for me. I thought it looked a little cheap and a little generic for me.
Oh, okay.
But you know, as far as the cheapness, like, it was meant to be a movie that was originally going to be put just right on HBO Max rather than in theaters. So I assume their budget was smaller. But I don't know. To me, there was just something generic about it where I thought, I've seen this in another form before, you know, or something. I don't know. I was just like, it didn't do much for me. But you liked it?
I mean, it looked okay. I just mostly thought the costume looked kind of cool to me.
Oh, the actual costume itself. Yeah. I don't know. I wish I could get excited to see it, but maybe when they drop another trailer, I'll think differently. But
I mean, yeah. Let's see. Is James Gunn really involved with this one?
No, not at all. Oh. It was already in production well before he took over.
Gotcha. Oh, that takes a little bit away from it.
I mean, I feel like any of these movies are like, if they do well, he might incorporate them into things.
Right.
But I could also see, like, if this thing shits the bed, he'll just be like, okay, not going forward with Blue Beetle. He's doing his own thing somewhere we're not seeing him, you know. I just wanted to mention. So I've been over the last couple months. I've been playing that Cyberpunk 2077 game. And because I like open world games, but I have a complaint, and I don't know if you've maybe noticed this in games you've played, where like a lot of games have the RPG elements where you're like upgrading your character. But the skill trees on some of these games suck. I feel like this game, like you go to the skill tree and it's like, oh, you can reload your gun 1% faster. I'm like, it's so minute. I'm like, come on, just give me some meaningful ones,
I mean, honestly, I've had that complaint with NBA 2K. They used to have used to be able to upgrade your player, like in my career, and you play maybe 50 games or something, however many, you could upgrade them pretty well. Now you have to play so much. You have to play so many games. They pretty much make it to where you have to spend money to upgrade your player, or else it'll take forever to do it.
The grind. Yeah, a lot of games do. I mean, this one I don't think you have the ability to buy like that, but at the same time, like I feel like if you're doing the side missions, which I am, like I like games to where like if you try to just golden path it and do the main missions, like it's really hard. But if you actually, take the time to do the side missions, you feel like a badass.
Yeah.
You become all powerful. And so far I'm not getting that in this game. And I've done a lot of side missions and I'm like, oh, it's just like, it feels like your character upgrades so slowly, and I'm like, I want to feel like a badass already, It just, I don't know, it's like whole like, oh, 2% this, 1% this. It's like, come on, give me something good.
Yeah, I'm different from you. I don't do the side missions. I mostly just want to do the main quests and stuff, and then maybe go back and do the side missions.
I mean, I probably should do that just so I can get through more games. But something about it is I don't like. I'm like, nah, I want to do as many side missions as I can and get my character upgraded as best I can before I go to the next main mission. But yeah, it becomes tough when these games get overly big.
Yeah, I get that.
But yeah, video game companies, better skill trees.
You still got to play God of War, man.
I do. I'll wait for it to go on sale. I'm sure it will eventually.
Yeah.
Actually, like, eventually the God of War 2018, like, I had paid for it and played it way back, but eventually, like, it did become free for a time.
Yeah, I played it.
Did you?
Yeah, I have it. It's free.
Did you play through the whole thing?
Not the whole thing yet, no.
But you're playing through it.
Yeah.
It's good though, right?
Oh, it's really good.
The only thing about that game is, like, when I was playing it, like, I beat it, and then, like, I was like, I did want to go through and kind of do more of the side stuff, but then I got distracted and I never went back. Man, I remember though, like, there's things where, like, in that game where there'll be like, I don't know if it's like a dimensional rift or whatever, but you hit those things, and like some of those are really hard. Like they spit out enemies.
Yeah.
And some of those fights, I just kept dying and dying, and I'm like, well, I'm not powerful enough to beat this yet.
Yeah, those are like, I think after the game, right? For the most part.
Well, I think some of them you can do. I think they're just like, if I remember right, it's been a while since I played that game, but they'll be like, a black thing, just like,
yeah,
and you hit it, and like some of them I think just give you like upgrade points or whatever, but most of them, like, enemies pop out and you got to fight them, and a lot of those are, I found to be like really difficult.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's several you can do as you're going along. It's just they're like really hard. So like,
okay.
Some of them, I think, unless you're really good, you're gonna have to upgrade your character and go back to them.
Golly.
But yeah, I never ended up going back and doing all of them. But yeah, as far as things I watched, I think that's it. So should we roll into some story time?
Let's do it.
All right, guys. Anybody who hasn't watched or listened, we're going to go around the table here, and we scoured the internet for some hopefully wacky and entertaining stories, and we'll see just if we can make something fun out of those. And as tradition dictates, AJ, we usually start with you. So what do you got for us?
Marathon runner caught taking a poo in stranger's garden on home doorbell video.
I didn't watch the video, but I did see this headline.
A runner in this week's Boston Marathon got caught short and had to dip out for a poo in someone's garden because sometimes the call of nature is just too loud to ignore. To make the whole matter even worse, the moment was caught on camera thanks to the homeowner's doorbell cam. More than 30,000 runners took to the streets of Boston, U.S. on Monday, April 17th, to run the 26.2 miles and earn themselves a shiny medal. With hours of pavement pounding ahead of them, most runners would opt to use the toilet before setting off. And if you do realize you need to go partway through, there are portable toilets set up en route. However, one bloke didn't bother himself with waiting to find a proper toilet, instead slipped off the route to do a quick number one in some poor unsuspecting person's garden. In the footage, so it's number one, it's supposed to be number two.
I was going to say, does this person not know the difference between the number one and the number two?
It's a UK paper.
If there's poo, do they got to, it's like the metric system. Like, in our country, a number two is a number one.
In the footage, spectators can be heard cheering on the runners in the background while the mystery pooper squats down in a move that deserves no applause at all. Just as he's doing his business, another man appears and walks down the path, spotting the pooper. With his pants still down around his ankles, the runner and the other fellow have an awkward standoff of sorts before the spectator eventually walks off. Probably one of the more unusual interactions he's had in his life. Once he's done, the bloke simply stands up. Well, he's got nothing to wipe his ass with, and he re-enters the race through a gap in the bushes. As you can imagine, the footage has since gone viral, racking up hundreds of thousands of views, as well as attracting plenty of comments from people who can't believe that what they've just seen. FYI, he didn't wipe. In a comment on Twitter, one person said, "That's disgusting as hell." Another wrote, "Imagine mowing the grass," and like, what the fuck? While a third commented, "If the runner was a top finisher and didn't have time to wait for a potty, I could understand. A random runner has no business doing this." Others sympathize with the runner, with one person adding, "Pre-workout drink and BCAAs before the run finally kicked in. I know how this feels. Unlucky." Someone else said, "That sucks, but all that nerves and caffeine, they probably had to take a shit. But he's human after all."
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I feel sorry for this guy because, like, it just happened. Like, when nature calls, man, you got to answer the phone. And that guy was going to definitely shit his pants. And if you're in that position, like, what can you do? Like, it's not. Although, can you imagine, like, you're a homeowner and you just go out one day and you're like, somebody took a big old shit.
Yeah.
My first thought, if I would seen that, was like, wouldn't be that. I would be like, somebody's trying to send me a message. Somebody doesn't like me. One of my stupid neighbors, and they shit in my yard. I would definitely take it personally.
Okay.
If I didn't know the story.
All right. I mean, I would have been like, I don't know what scenario led to this. I'd be like, what in the world?
It's unfortunate though that now like everybody has those like door cameras and stuff, so like you're gonna get caught. Like
a guy can't even take a shit in public anymore.
Man, I never do you think if you trained for a year, you could run one of these marathons?
Yeah. I used to run a lot when I was younger. It just takes practice. You just gotta, get your body in the right shape, and just gotta train your legs. But yeah,
what is it? It's like something weird, like 26 point some miles or
26.2.
God, that's so much.
Yeah, the guy who first ran it was running from some part of Greece to Athens to warn that the Persians were arriving. And so he ran 26 point. That's how the distance from there to there.
I knew it had some sort of root in mythology.
Yeah. And they say he died after running it. Imagine the disrespect. Like, that guy died running a marathon, and now everybody runs a marathon every year just for fun. I think he ran to marathon. I don't know. Or ran from marathon. I don't know.
Yeah, because marathon's a place, right?
I think so, yeah.
I think, yeah. It was like, this guy died doing it. Let's all do it.
Yeah, everybody does it for fun every year.
Well, I found this interesting, or this article interesting, because there's a lot of talk about like gender identity and like what's masculine, what's feminine, that kind of thing. Well, these are 8 feminine and masculine items that were originally intended for the opposite sex. Number 1, stockings and leggings. Stockings and leggings are strictly female clothing these days, bar some thermal or sporty cases. But they used to be a man's choice of legwear. In fact, fashionable rich men have worn stockings since the 9th century. Women didn't adopt them until some 800 years later in the 18th century. Fun fact, there was a period of overlap when men didn't want anything to think they were wearing women's stockings. That's when the term pantyhose was invented to differentiate lady stockings from men's hose. AJ, we should bring these back.
Who wore the pantyhose? The men?
Well, no, I think they were like when it sounds like when women started wearing them, they're like no, when you wear them, they're pantyhose. When we wear them, they're stockings or something like that. We should bring these back. We'll start wearing them and be like, we're rich men.
We wear like little swords and stuff, like Robin Hood.
We should like start dressing like Southern dandies. Number 2, wristwatches. A Rolex is often taken as a sign of a successful man, but back in the day, wristwatches were strictly for women. Up until World War I, men considered wristwatches to be dainty feminine accessories comparable to jewelry. Any self-respecting man would wear a pocket watch instead. But the horrifying conditions of the trenches made pocket watches very impractical. All it took was the worst war humanity had seen to date to convince men to start wearing their watches on their it says watches. I think they mean wrist. Yeah, I guess I could see that. My dad still likes pocket watches. I mean, I think he wears watches too, but he definitely has a couple pocket watches.
It's weird what people decided was masculine and feminine. Like watches versus pocket watches. Like that seems like a strange thing to like decipher, one being masculine, one being feminine.
You know what I also think are funny is like the old guys that would wear the sock garters with the little clips to hold their socks up.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody still does that. Number 3, thongs. Those sexy little G-strings. Yeah, those were originally men's underwear.
Oh, no.
Granted, the original thong...
Split your balls in half.
worn in places like Egypt, Greece, and Japan, wasn't quite as dainty as its modern equivalent, yet they left the wearer's butt cheeks exposed all the same. Women's thong, on the other hand, was born in 1939, at least according to one story. During the New York World Trade Fair, the city's mayor ordered female nude dancers to cover up their shame, so they pulled on G-strings so they could still shake their booty for the audience. So even in 1939, they had nude dancers?
I guess so. I guess they've always had some sort of nudity. So.
Probably in certain places. Number 4, crop tops. See a man wearing a crop top today, and many people immediately assume he has some feminine qualities. Yet in the 80s and early 90s, they were the peak of masculinity. Crop tops were born in the locker rooms of top American football players. You can't get much manlier than that. Yet by the mid-90s, most men had decided that they didn't want to flaunt their stomachs, and women took over crop tops. Maybe the guys just didn't want to put in the effort to build the kind of six-pack, to pull the six-pack look off. I mean, I feel like there's still guys that do try this look, but I guess it's not as popular as it was in that time period.
The 80s, it was like very popular.
Yeah, especially like if you watch like certain movies and TV shows from that time period, you'll see it a lot.
For sure.
You know what also I think is funny is like 80s movies especially, a lot of like the douchey villain types will wear like the sweater with like the arms wrapped around his neck and stuff like that, you know? It's like it was like that definitely spells douche. Number 5, high heels. High heels are probably one of the most feminine articles of clothing in existence, yet they were originally worn by burly Persian soldiers. The high heels allowed cavalry warriors to lock their feet into their stirrups, making it easier to stay in the saddle during the fighting. A few hundred years later, 17th century French gentlemen adopted high heels as one of the most fashionable things to wear. Women didn't start wearing high heels until their skirt hem started slowly getting shorter. The heels made their feet seem smaller and their calves look more toned. By the 18th century, men dumped heels altogether. I mean, I guess if you're riding a horse at the time, people probably can't really. It probably doesn't look as weird as just seeing a guy in high heels.
Yeah, he's not actually like walking around on them.
Still now, according to this article, we could put on stockings and high heels and be as manly as we want to be.
I'm sure they'll get to wigs too.
Number 6, Old Spice. Old Spice had a whole ad campaign built around the slogan, "Smell like a man," which is ironic because the first Old Spice product was for women. Launched in 1937, early American Old Spice was a woman's scent, inspired by the potpourri its inventor's mother wore. The first men's Old Spice scent came in the following year. It must have sold better. Does Old Spice even have a single women's scent or deodorant these days? I mean, I don't even know. They might, but
I don't know.
It definitely, like, the modern day marketing I know is more towards men.
Yeah, I always think of them as a men's brand.
Number 7, makeup. Now,
Man, women stole everything from men.
Now, it'd be unfair to say that women of old didn't wear makeup. They absolutely did. But lipstick, powder, and eyeliner didn't used to be as strongly associated with women as they are today. Ancient Egyptian pharaohs wore thick eyeliner and lipstick, both to show off their wealth and to make themselves look like gods Horus and Ra. Roman men used red pigments to add a blush to their cheeks and painted their nails, while many gentlemen in 17th and 18th century England and France inadvertently killed themselves with ghostly pale lead-based face powder.
Not the best way to.
Men didn't stop dolling up their faces until the 19th century, when Queen Victoria and the Church of England began to disapprove of the practice. Yet they didn't manage to kill male makeup off completely. The male sections of the makeup aisles might be small, but they're still there.
I mean, plenty of guys still use makeup. I think there's never been a time where guys weren't wearing makeup. Guys have always done it.
Are there a lot of straight guys wearing makeup, though?
Yeah. Even like today, there's a lot of straight guys who wear makeup. They just don't talk about it.
I guess I don't even notice.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I know, like, TV guys and stuff put on, like, the basic stuff to, like, so they pop on camera and stuff. But, like
my sister said, like, she'd be in high school when she was younger, and they'd be like, guys like, hey, can I borrow your makeup? I want to touch up something. Like,
really?
Yeah.
I guess I'm a basic ass bitch. I've never. Maybe I should look into. So, okay, we need stockings, high heels, and makeup, and we'll be the manliest men on the block. And then finally, number 8, the Ford Mustang. Ford Mustang. What young man doesn't want to show off driving such a badass masculine muscle car? But when the Mustang was first introduced in the mid-'60s, Ford marketed it to women. With a large trunk that could hold plenty of groceries, Ford called the car the sweetheart of the supermarket set. The manufacturer even carefully picked the red color of the original Mustangs to match popular lipstick tones at the time. Even today, the Mustang is one of the most popular sports cars among women. I did not know that. I mean, I don't know if any of these like super surprising to you. I mean, I guess like I never saw like any historical things of men wearing the stockings.
Yeah, I never saw that. I thought wigs would definitely be up there because I know men like used to wear those because to hide their syphilis.
Yeah, the old powder wigs.
Yeah.
It would be fun to rock some powdered wigs somewhere.
That'd be so ridiculous. Rocking powdered wigs and stockings and high heels. People would definitely think we were a drag, but we would just be the manliest men. They don't know it.
That's true. It was like I'm just like cosplaying as like Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah, we're like banning drag shows and everything. We're like we're basically banning our forefathers.
That's true. It's like all those people that argue like, what would our forefathers have wanted?
They
It's like,
would've
well,
fit right in.
maybe they would have been into this. Maybe, just maybe, they would have been into this a little bit. All right, AJ, I'll send it back to you.
All right. Inside the quietest place on earth where you can hear your own organs. The world's quietest room might sound like a pretty relaxing place, but it's actually so silent that most people can't stand to be in it for more than a few minutes. The anechoic test chamber at Orfield Laboratories in Minneapolis, Minnesota, is officially the quietest place on Earth and has got itself the Guinness World Record to prove it. The specially created chamber absorbs around 99.9% of sound and is mainly used for conducting experiments, although it has become quite a bit of an unlikely tourist spot with people keen to check it out for themselves. To give you some context, your average room measures around 30 decibels at night, whereas the lab drops to negative 24.9 decibels, according to the Guinness World Records.
This is how stupid I am. Was like, how can like a noise level be negative?
That's what I was thinking. Like, yeah.
I don't even know conceptually what that means.
Designed by Stephen Orfield, the area comprises a large masonry and concrete chamber with a smaller steel chamber supported on vibration-absorbing springs inside that. Inside this second space, the interior walls are lined with a layer of heavy insulation covered with fiberglass wedges, or glass fiber wedges. The room is so quiet that people struggle to spend more than a few minutes inside before the lack of noise starts to affect them. We challenge people to sit in the chamber in the dark, said Orfield. When it's quiet, ears will adapt. The quieter the room, the more things you hear. You'll hear your heart beating. Sometimes you can hear your lungs. Sometimes your stomach gurgling loudly. Well, that sounds absolutely horrible, doesn't it? Orfield said in 2018 that he managed to stay inside for an impressive 45 minutes, but went into detail. I have a mechanical heart valve. I can always hear it clearly. But that certainly doesn't seem to put people off. In the same interview, Orfield revealed, we get thousands of requests. Members of the public visit from around the world almost every week, and they are just about always excited by the experience. There's no skeptical reaction, as this is simply a bodily experience, and there's nothing to learn or believe. The lab has opened itself up to visitors, meaning anyone who fancies an extreme bit of peace and quiet is free to check it out themselves, but it's not cheap. A visit to the room will set you back $600 per hour per person. And you know there's this whole you'll become the sound thing to put up with too. It's like you become the sound because your body and everything starts making noise. Or you can hear the noise. I don't know. Yeah, I'd probably go crazy after a few minutes.
I was just thinking, like, how is it like $600 an hour? That sounds like a whorehouse.
Yeah, that is a total ripoff. Like, they're really charging people for their curiosity, and like, I wonder what silence sounds like. Here's $600 for that.
You ever get like where you're like maybe like ears get weird and you can like kind of feel your heartbeat like in your head almost?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was thinking though, like these sound like I don't think I've ever heard my lungs, but you know I've definitely like from that heard my heartbeat or like heard my stomach like gargling and stuff like that. So maybe not as intensely as you could in this room, but
Yeah, I mean, I definitely didn't like those sounds when I heard them before too. Like, I had an ultrasound of my heart, I think, or like it just sounds terrible.
oh yeah, I had to have that done when I was in the hospital this last time, and like yeah, that is weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not something I want to hear. The heart sounds like it could mess up any second.
It does. Like, I'm almost like from an evolutionary standpoint, I'm like, I feel like we'd be better off with a system that didn't require this thing always pumping us,
It's so fragile.
It really is. And then that's ultimately what kills most people.
Yeah. It's doing such heavy lifting, and it can't keep doing that for all this time. We need like 2 hearts.
I know, it's like, there's got to be a better way, evolution.
Yeah.
Why do we even need the hearts and blood and all this stuff? Man, wasn't it always embarrassing in like school, like a quiet classroom, like when your stomach won't stop, like
Oh,
gargling.
yeah. That was always the worst.
I know.
And I would always skip breakfast, so my stomach would always be gargling in the morning. It was just insane.
Are you still like that as an adult? Like where you don't eat breakfast?
Yeah, I don't know. Breakfast just doesn't sit right with me. It just makes me feel kind of weird.
It's weird because I was just listening to a podcast where people were talking about this, and like some of them were like that, where they're like, they never feel like eating. And then like the woman on there was like, says like she wakes up just like starving and I'm kind of like her, like I'm always like starving when I wake up, and I'm like breakfast time, and so it always seemed weird to me that there's people that are like, yeah, I'm not hungry,
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait hours.
Yeah, I could definitely wait hours. I usually don't eat till the afternoon.
I usually feel like a little nauseous until I eat something in the morning. I don't know, maybe there's something wrong with me.
No, I mean, I think it's normal. I'd feel nauseous in the morning too sometimes, but even still, like, I don't know, eating just doesn't appeal to me sometimes.
In fact, I'm even like, if I had plans to like go to a restaurant, I would probably still eat just a little something before I left the house just to calm my stomach down.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I heard like eating breakfast helps you lose weight. Like in overall in a year, you gain like 10 to 18 pounds by skipping breakfast.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh, that's interesting. Like I have always wondered about metabolism. Like I don't think always like starving yourself is good for metabolism.
Right, right. I mean, especially if you do that, you'll lose weight at first, but then you'll gain it right back. It'll stick to you when you start eating again.
I have heard though that like if you do like intense cardio like before you eat, like that'll burn more calories. But to me, I'm like I could never even think about doing it. Well, not only because my work schedule, but even if I wasn't working, like I just don't think I could. I think I would throw up if I tried a heavy workout before eating something.
After working out, you don't really feel like eating that much. You feel like eating healthy, like a salad or something. That's how I feel. Yeah, I've heard that too. Like eat chocolate cake or eat whatever you want after working out. I think that's more true of like lifting weights. Like I think something about like lean muscle like helps burn off more fat than like just doing cardio itself.
Yeah, you might be right. Because like I feel like I usually do like an hour of cardio like every other day, and like my diet's not the best, but like I'm mostly just maintain my weight. I don't like
Yeah.
I'm not losing anything.
Right, right. Yeah, that happened to me too. Like I started doing I lost recently like 75 pounds or so.
Wow,
Like
that's damn
not
good.
very recently, but over the course of a year.
Still, that's really good.
Yeah, and I've been, walking, but I've plateaued too. Like even though I've been eating less and stuff, I've plateaued. Like cardio can only take you so far. I think like you do have to start building up the muscle and toning it up and stuff.
Yeah. Let's see. I have like some stories of them. I have one, but I'm like, man, it's depressing. I don't know if I want it. If I do a depressing story, do you get something happy we can go out on?
Let me see. Not really.
Okay. Let me see if I get a better one here. Okay, this one's a little silly. Well, maybe silly's not the right word. Maybe gross. First cousins announced they were dating by posting a photo of them kissing in a family Facebook group.
Oh no! First cousins.
Love can be an all-encompassing emotion that can drive us to do wild or even reckless things. And it's these intense corner pockets of romance that are explored by Prime Video's Extreme Love. One couple who featured on the show put everything at risk for love, including possible criminal charges and dangerous genetic issues for their children. Utah couple Michael Lee and Angela.
Utah.
Yeah, Michael Lee and Angela Pang are called the kissing cousins because that's quite literally what they are. They're first cousins who decided to get freaky with each other, and they revealed their secret love to their family in a pretty wild way, showing a picture of the two of them ramming their tongues down each other's throats on a relative run Facebook group. Wonder what grandma made of it all. Oh, and we do mean the one grandma. They share the same one after all. Well, their family didn't take take it that well. They were shocked and horrified.
Their family.
They were shocked and horrified, Michael told Extreme Love. Looking at the picture they shared, we can see why. Anyway, these canoodling cousins grew up in Utah and were close as kids. Obviously, a little too close. Michael told Prime Video TV show about a time in primary school when he and Angela slow danced together in a closet. And there was the time their parents, who are brother and sister, found them poshing. I think this is like a British article. I'm guessing that means kissing. The two were kept apart after that, but the pair reconnected at a family reunion. Both Angela and Michael were married to other people, but split with their partners before rekindling their whole kissing cousins thing. The two raunchy relatives reunited at a family reunion, which led them to throw caution as well as their morals and respect for genetics to the wind. Their family has shunned their relationship, and people on social media haven't been too open to the whole thing either. One user said the way that they came out to the family was so disrespectful, adding insult to injury. A second added, I feel bad for their future kid. He or she doesn't deserve what's coming for them. A third commented, they look like the male and female versions of each other.
Yeah.
It's like having a crush on your own reflection, but opposite gender. Self-admiration much?
Yeah, you can definitely see the resemblance.
The couple has since married, but not in their home state of Utah, as their wedding would be considered incest by law. So they jumped across state lines to Colorado, where it's legal.
Wow, Colorado has more lax laws than Utah?
I was going to say, if I thought one of those states it was legal, it would be Utah. Since the documentary, the couple has had 2 children together who seem to be fine and healthy, which is lucky as their shared genetic material actually doubles the risk of serious birth defects for the children, The Guardian reports. Michael passed away in 2021 after the couple shared their story, wedding, and 2 children with the world. So Angela is now a single mother of the 2 children. Hey, Jay, you can step in.
I don't think I look like her enough. She's looking for doppelgangers.
You think there's another cousin in the family that's like, oh, now I have a shot.
Well, does she have a sibling? Step her game up.
Here's the thing, though. So, like, you would think if 2 first cousins, like, did fall for each other like this, like, why would you post a photo like this to the Facebook group and be like, here it is, just, like, as graphic as can be?
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't you at least have some shame and be like, okay, we're seeing each other, but we don't want to, like...
No, they stuck their ass out.
They really did. They really put it out there on Front Street.
I think it was just like, let's just get it over with, whatever everybody's going to say, they're going to say it. So just made it the worst possible thing they could have possibly done and took a picture of them making out.
I think we've talked about this on the podcast before, but like, let's say you were dating a woman, you guys fell in love, maybe you got married, or maybe you just been together a long time, and then just for fun, you guys decide to do one of those like 23andMe or whatever tests, and it turns out you find, unbeknownst to yourselves, that you were like related.
Yeah.
Like, is there like a degree of related where you'd be maybe like, it just is what it is, to it like a degree where you're like, now it's too much? Like, let's say you found out like you were like, second or third cousins compared to like first cousins.
Yeah. I think second is still close. Third is like, it still makes me feel uncomfortable. Like,
right.
I'd still be like, I think, yeah, as long as I can call them a cousin, it just doesn't I don't think I can. It just changes your mindset completely. You know, you can't think of them as a possible lover anymore. Yeah, I couldn't.
Now, what if, like, let's say, like, you fell in love with this person, you thought they were your soulmate, you actually got married, no kids yet, but you're married, and then you find out your first cousins. Like, would you just be like, we have to end it, or would you be like, okay, let's stay together but not have kids?
No, you'd have to end it. But like that would be so rare to like end up with your first cousin and not know it.
That's true. I mean, I assume things like that can happen.
Yeah.
Just like, you know,
Like displaced people who like
that, or like maybe like the parents, like those siblings don't get along, so they're like, you never knew this
yeah.
particular side of your family or whatever, you know. I could see it happening.
Yeah. There's this kind of reminds me of this crazy case that happened recently. I think it was in I don't know if it was Florida or somewhere in America. This father he had adopted off his daughter, like, you know, she grew up somewhere else. But then when she turned like 20, 22, she like met her parents for the first time, her biological parents. She got into a sexual relationship with her father. And then like she broke it off and he got jealous and killed her and like a few other people too. Like it's just the weirdest, wildest thing. I don't know how that happens, man. That mentality.
You know, I saw like it was on like a cheesy talk show once. Like, I don't think it was Jerry Springer, but like one of maybe the slightly more credible ones, but you know, who knows. But it was like this story of I think they were half siblings, and like they didn't grow up together, but they met each other later in life and they fell in love with each other and started fooling around or whatever. But I've heard that that's actually like something, not an isolated thing. Like, supposedly that's something that has happened a lot. Like, I was talking to Lester about it, and I think he like saw something about it to where like it's something that's happened multiple times where like, you know, half siblings like meet each other as adults, and like there's something there like where they, I don't know.
It seems it's so counterintuitive. Like you would think there'd be some sort of design of the body
Right.
to make you think like this is something's not right about this.
I think we want to believe that,
Yeah.
but just because like from an out, like we know it's gross,
Yeah.
but then like I don't know. Apparently, there's something there.
Man, you know, I do wonder, like, I always, like, fantasize about living in, like, caveman times, like, back in, like, when the earth was pristine. Like, granted, I'd be dead at, like, 20, maybe. But it just seems like such a unique, you know, interesting time. Like, everything was so, I don't know, just so pristine. And you think about what life was like back then. Like, they lived in these small little tribes. I'm pretty sure like half the kids, if not more, were like inbred and like messed up.
Yeah, you do kind of wonder, like, how did we ever like finally break out of that? Because
Yeah.
for a time there had to be like so much incest.
Yeah. Like it would have been hard to even like evolve.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know how it happened. Like we must be inbred like crazy to some extent, like, you know, but then we worked our way out of it. And that's like, I feel like if we never grew our population enough, we probably would have like imploded from incest and stuff.
You know what I always think? Because I sometimes, I wouldn't say I fantasize about being a caveman because it's probably a terrible life.
Yeah.
But I do kind of wonder. The thing I wonder about is like, you know, it would have been terrible from a standpoint of like, it would have just been so easy to die like
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
And like, you would always had to have kind of that survival mindset all the time. But at the same time, those people would have always been living in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of wonder, were they happier than us?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they would have always just been present in the
Yeah.
moment, like, you know, living for the next meal, hunting. Like, they probably all would have been in good shape because they had to be.
And also, like, I also think like history and education, all this stuff, like it alters your mind. Like back then, they didn't have anything to like work off of.
Exactly.
It was just like, okay, this is what it is. So like, that altered their way of thinking too. Like
Yeah.
it does make it interesting. Like granted, like I think I value my education. I value like being able to survive in this day and age. But at the same time, it's like, what would it have been like if somebody hadn't like put all these thoughts in your head and you had
Yeah.
just experienced it all on your own?
Yeah, I also like, this is kind of depressing, but like I'm always been attractive to like like the idea of like certain sci-fi where it's like, oh, kind of like the Matrix, where like the world we're in isn't the real world,
Oh yeah,
and just this idea of escapism. And I'm like, it would be nice not to always crave like some sort of escapism, like entertainment, and just be like, I'm present in the world, and
Yeah.
like this feels like enough.
right. Yeah, I wonder about that too. Like, what is the ideal lifestyle for humans? Like for us? Yeah. We've been around for like 300,000 years and life has changed so much in that time. And now we're at the point where like I think we're living like such a altered lifestyle that it's not conducive to like humanity and like how we're supposed to be.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I do wonder what the golden age was for humanity.
I even kind of wonder, like, imagine the Matrix was real, and we could basically, almost like a video game, we could like basically like create or visit any reality we really wanted to. We could like go into a realistic like Star Wars simulation if we wanted to.
Right.
Obviously, it wouldn't kill us or whatever, but
Right.
would even that make us happy?
Yeah, I think happiness is one of those things that you have it for like a second. It's fleeting, like
Yeah.
there always has to be some sort of trigger to like make it happen. And once it's been triggered, you have the effect for a little while, but then it goes away. So I think you constantly need to be stimulated.
Yeah, that's the thing. But I almost feel like I'm like constantly like, through TV, video games, comics, whatever, stimulating my mind and like escaping in my mind to these different realities and stuff. But it's like, after a while, it's like, well, that's not very satisfying either. It's
Right.
like, I don't know. It's like, how do you become satisfied in the real world,
Right. I don't think it's possible. I don't. I think like when you look at the richest people and everything, like nobody's satisfied. So I mean, I just don't think there's a way to like really be fully happy. Like
I know. That's the really like, and that's to go back to the caveman thing. I'm like, maybe they were happier than us.
yeah,
They didn't have to think about this stuff.
for that little time that they were alive. Like even like we add drama, in this world in our lives, like
Yeah, because most of our world is boring, so
Yeah.
we need to fill it with.
right. So
Stories
back
and
then,
drama.
like if somebody died, it wasn't like I'm sure they thought about like, yeah, I grew up with this person, I love this person, and everything. I'm sure that mattered, but at the same time, I'm sure they were also like, all right, what now?
Yeah,
You know? Yeah, it's such a fascinating question.
and we got here by thinking about cousin fucking. Well, we are over time. Do you want to wrap things up?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Well, guys, we hope everybody enjoyed the show today. We certainly did. If you will, please subscribe both to the YouTube channel and to the podcast on your podcast service of choice. Give us thumbs up. We do appreciate comments. Please comment. And you can also come over on Twitter. AJ, should we buy blue check marks on Twitter now? We can become verified.
We'd be a joke to everyone. Even the people who are verified are like, I'm not trying to be verified.
Yeah, apparently, like people with over like 1 million followers, like Elon, just like left him the blue check mark or something weird. I don't know. But anyway, where can people find you on Twitter if they want to?
At a name for this too, and that's the number 2.
And you can find me at Zach Jones Live. That's ZachJonesLive. And that is going to do it for all of our shenanigans and poppycock this week. Please, please, please tune in again next week. Bye, guys.
Take care.